Okay, hello everyone. I'm delighted to welcome you to this Celsius talk. It's 10 o'clock sharp, so I guess we will start. My name is Oksana Krasatenko, and I am Head of Knowledge Transfer at Euroheat and Power, the international network for district energy promoting sustainable heating and cooling in Europe and beyond. I will be moderating today's Celsius talk about cities going carbon neutral. And to set a little bit the scene, we realized that the name of this webinar also very much similar to the name of the mission launched by the European Commission. And in fact, the reason is well known. The climate emergency must be tackled within cities and by engaging citizens. The targets of the European Union, reducing emissions by 55% by 2030 and becoming the first climate neutral continent by 2050 will be impossible to achieve without cities. This has also been recognized at the EU level with the launch of the European Mission on Climate Neutral and Smart Cities. This, by the way, happened on the 25th of November 2021 when we held the Celsius Summit in Strasbourg. Cities with over 50,000 inhabitants were eligible to apply. For some countries, a lower threshold of 10,000 inhabitants was used. The Commission will announce the list of selected cities by March 2022, and cities participating in the mission will prepare and implement climate city contract that will be co-created with the stakeholders and citizens. And this is very interesting because some of the cities participating in today's webinar have indeed applied and are waiting for the results to be announced. The Celsius initiative since 2013 supported cities in their transitions towards more sustainable energy systems for heating and cooling. And along the way, we have found so many inspiring examples that couldn't all fit into a 1-hour webinar. However, we have selected some of them and would like to share the success stories with you. Today, we will hear about the Celsius Forerunner city of Lund in Sweden, where the world's largest low-temperature district heating grid was recently awarded with the Global District Energy Climate Award in the category New Scheme. Danish Sonderborg, a city that aims to be carbon neutral by 2029, will share its best practice and their experience on how district energy can help decarbonize the energy system. And the Celsius Forerunner city Vienna will share learnings from the journey towards carbon neutrality in the heating and cooling system. On your screen, you can see our speakers. I will first introduce them one by one, and they will make a very short presentation about the journey to climate neutrality. After we hear all the presentations, our audience will be able to ask questions, but also during the presentation, feel free to type your questions in the Q&A box. If you have any technical issues, please use the chat. And for your information, this webinar will be recorded, and the recording will be available on the Celsius website. So let's start. I'm glad to introduce Markus Poulsen. He's energy strategist and project manager at the city of Lund at the sustainability department. He is also work package leader in the Horizon 2020 project LTDH, which I'm sure will be mentioned in his presentation. So welcome, Markus. The floor is yours. And in order not to disturb you, we will hide our cameras and you can share your screen and your presentation. Markus, please don't forget to unmute yourself. Still muted?
So, sorry. Well, thank you, Oksana, and thank you for having me. I hope you can see my pictures now. As I just mentioned, I work for the city of Lund as an energy strategist, and I will focus mainly my presentation on what we have built, which is the world's largest low-temperature district heating grid. But first, for those of you that haven't been in Lund before, it is a city in the very south of Sweden, almost at the Danish border. It has a very large population growth, but it's mostly well known for its university, which is the largest in Scandinavia. Since I'm working with sustainability issues, I'm also very proud of that we have reached our ambitious target of reducing the emissions of carbon dioxide with more than 50%. I used to usually say that we have now finished the easy 50%, and we are now tackling the difficult 50% to reduce our emissions, which we will do ahead. And when the city grows as fast as Lund does, we need to provide housing for all the new citizens. So at the moment, we are now building a new district in the northeastern part of Lund, which we call Brunshaug. It is, we are aiming it to be a role model for city development in a sustainable way. Talking about all three kinds of sustainability: environmental, economical, and social. And one of the efforts that we do there in Brunshaug is, first I should tell you that in Lund we have been working with district heating for very many years. So now we have a very extensive network of district heating, and it's operated and owned by Kraftringen, the regional energy company. And in 2018, this district heating became 100% fossil free, which is one of the major reasons that we have achieved the goal of 50% reduction. It used to be have natural gas as the main source of energy, but has switched to bioenergy and also geothermal energy and more. So when you combine this new district of Brunshaug with district heating, we want to build something new. And since we also had the opportunity to host two large research facilities. Max 4 is a large research facility owned by Lund University, and ESS is a very large research facility, which is a joint European project, European spallation source. Both of them acts like very large microscopes, so to say. And you can also see that in this district we have started building, and this area is almost finished, and we have started to build across the street here and moving further north. So it's a development area, and while building new, we thought, why not build a low temperature grid this time? Because new houses are well insulated, so it can be suitable with lower temperatures. And Max 4 is inaugurated, and it is actually a circle where they accelerate electrons to the speed of light. And while doing that, it emits a lot of heat, so it needs cooling. And at the energy central, there is big cooling machines that produce the cooling for the facility. And on the other side of the cooling machines, of course, you get heat. And these pictures are from inside the energy central. So we get around 20 gigawatt hours of cooling, and at the same time we get 30 gigawatt hours of heating that can be utilized next door in the district. And while doing this low temperature grid, we have decided that it should be around 65 degrees Celsius. This is warm enough to keep it safe from Legionella, and warm enough to heat modern, well-insulated buildings. But it's also cold enough that it will lower the production cost. It will also lower the heat losses, and it makes it possible to use plastic pipes. In the image you see steel pipes that is the backbone of the grid, but all the distribution net will be in plastic pipes. And you can also see that the grid is backed by traditional district heating, and that is done at the Energy Central shown previously. So when there is a downtime of the Max 4 facility, we can get heating from the traditional district heating grid. And if there is surplus energy, we can actually export it to the traditional grid and making it a very robust system. And the grid will be extensive for the district, and it is in different parts of operations. Some is put there and some is in planning. You could look this into detail afterwards, actually. And the first, it was inaugurated in September 2019 when the first customer was connected. And since then it has been in operation, and it's continuously expanded as the buildings are built in the area. All of this that we do in Lund, we have a consortium of actors that are working together. And then we are also working together with the Danish partners in Høje-Taastrup that has a similar constellation of actors. And we work together in the CoolDH project, cool district heating. In Lund, we are building a totally new grid with new houses and demonstrating how that can be done. But in Denmark, they are converting an old grid from traditional district heating to low temperature district heating. And they are also recovering residual heat from a shopping mall and data center. So we have a lot of experience that can exchange from each other, but we have also some differences that we work on and that we demonstrate. And you're also very welcome to the final conference that we will have in May. And I invite you all to this. You can be online and follow the presentations, but if you want to see the real thing in live, you have to be there in person. So it's a hybrid event, except for the study visits, which is physical, of course. So go into the website, cooldh.eu, and you will learn more about what we do, about the project, and especially about the conference that we will host. And I will end this by saying thank you for attention. And this image shows us when we received this Global District Energy Climate Award. That it was joint between the City of Lund and the energy utility Kraftringen. So please visit our website for more information. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcus, and thank you for being so sharp in time. So that's perfect. We will definitely have some room for questions and discussions after all the presentations. So I will continue with introducing our next speaker. This is Allan Bilgaard Jensen, and he's business developer representing Project Zero in our webinar today. Project Zero is a public-private partnership established in 2007 to reach a CO2 neutral energy system in Sonderborg in 2029, which is actually 1 year earlier than the EU Commission targets and missions. Alan has held management positions in business development and product management in Sonderborg companies, offering solutions for the green transition, including energy efficient lighting control and solutions for the solar industry. Alan has been part of Project Zero since October 2019 and led the development of the updated Project Zero Master Plan 2029 last year, and is now leading the implementation of the plan. So please, Alan, the floor is yours, and you can share your challenges and also the successes you've reached until now. Feel free to share your screen.
Thank you very much, Oksana. Can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, let's see. Better?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much for inviting me to this webinar, and also thank you, Marcus, for your presentation. It's and congratulations with your award. Very impressive job you have done in Lund.
Alan, excuse me, could you please put it in presentation mode?
Yes, I will try. We had issues with the presentation mode before. Let's see if we can make it. Is this better? Can you see the presentation mode?
We can see the slides. I think it's all right. Thank you.
The issue we had in the preparation was that you couldn't see the change when. Can you see the next slide now? Or do you still have the front page?
No, we still have the front page.
Okay, then we have to go back to the mode that I presented before. Can you still see the screen now?
Yes.
And okay, then we will need this to use this mode because the other one doesn't work. So I hope this is still okay for you.
Yes, no problem.
Okay, good. All right, thank you very much. I would like to share with you what we have accomplished so far in Sonderborg, and also what our plans are towards 29, where we will reach carbon neutrality. We have been a public-private partnership since 2007, as Oksana mentioned, where we had CO2 of 700,000 tons in 2007, and our plan is to get to neutrality in 29, as mentioned, and we reached 50% in 2020. So now we have the journey for the rest, and as also mentioned by Marcus, this is of course the most difficult one. This part. Here I want to share with you how we look at the energy system. Of course, we need to use green energy supply, wind, PV, thermal heat, and also biogas. So this is no doubt the supply part. And if you look at the consumption, we look at, first of all, to minimize our energy consumption. We want to use energy in the buildings, production facilities, and transport. Next level is to utilize the energy that is already generated in all our processes, the excess heat, and they utilize this in the district heating system. And that is going to be a significant part of our heating going forward. I'll come back to that in a moment. So this is, you could say, the first part of sector coupling, and the second part of sector coupling or integration is that we want to utilize the electricity for hydrogen to generate more gas and also electrofuels, both for heating production and for transport. And this process does also generate a lot of heat that we would need to utilize in our district heating system. And this is of course about balancing and storage, because this way we can store our renewable energy by hydrogen, and we also need to balance the whole system by utilizing the energy at the right time, so to speak. So we see very much a more digitalized energy system going forward, and this is an important part of our planning. We have also, as in Lund, we have of course converted from fossil fuels and a lot of biomass in our system. We burn waste and also other biomass, and then of course also part of it is electricity. But as you can see, we still have some part in our system, and this is what you can now see in our updated plan for 2029 that we developed last year. Of course, we need, when we have a long-term planning of carbon neutrality, we need to update it constantly in order to relate to the framework conditions that are in that we work under, and also the technological developments. And last year we made the updated plan towards 29. And if you look at this one, you will see that the baseline here is 2020 baseline as we work on now in our new plan. We still have some in housing and in buildings, public buildings, that we need to reduce to almost nothing. There will still be quite some CO2 in the transport sector, of course, even though we are very ambitious on electricity cars and also on heavy transport, there will still be quite some fossil fuel car population in 29. And in the industry, we will also decarbonize a lot, both by electrification in processes as much as possible. That is the way we think, electricity as much as possible. And then we will only use biogas where needed, because we need to use it the right way, so to speak. So in some of our industries, we still need to use gas, and we will convert that to biogas, because we have a lot of biogas production in the area. As you see, district heating is going to be reduced to nothing by the end of the period here, and that means that we will, with our new plan, we will phase out fossil fuels completely. And then we also have some still in our planning. We have some fossil-based electricity, and that will also be green when we reach the target, or the 29 period. As we still have some transport in especially fossil-based, of course, in 29, we will compensate for that with more biogas production than we use. And also we will have power-to-X e-fuels production in the area during the next years. And based on this, we will have the neutrality in 29. If you look at the area here, Sonderborg is just at the border of, close to the border of Germany. And this is an island here, as you see, Als, an island, and then there's some of the mainland also. And if you look at the district heating system today, it's actually several areas. We have the northern part here of the island. We have the Sonderborg city area here, and then we have other areas, smaller towns out here. And today they are not connected. but in our new plan, we are going to connect these. We are right now calculating on how to do this the right way, because we have 3 different heating companies in this small area, which is only 75,000 inhabitants. We still have 3 different heating companies. So now they cooperate on how to connect these areas, and so that we can utilize the excess heat, especially because we will have a very much excess heat going forward. In our new plan, we plan with that around 40% of the needed district heating can come from excess heat from industrial processes that Marcus also mentioned, from wastewater, from especially also power to X, which will be a significant part of the heating here. And this, what is very important in this planning, is to make it the way that it becomes efficient, so that we can utilize the excess heat as much as possible. So we need to connect the areas in order to also utilize it during the summertime. So this is the planning that we are working very hard on now, and that is also something we could discuss during the questions afterwards. What you could say the barriers, the challenges there are. But I think this was more or less the time that I had for this part. So thank you for now, and I'm open for questions, of course, afterwards. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Alan. You still have 40 seconds left.
Okay.
But let's keep it for the Q&A indeed. So I would like to remind our participants to send your questions in the Q&A, and we will address them right after the presentation of our last speaker. I would like to introduce Peter Lichtenbauer. I'm pretty sure you can do it much better than I. Peter is currently working at the municipal department on energy planning in the city of Vienna. As a consultant for renewable energy and spatial energy planning, he focuses on strategic solutions towards carbon neutrality in the heating sector. His work includes the preparation of strategic decision guidance based on geodata and a vast exchange within administration and between cities and research partners. So I would like to give the floor to you, Peter, with the experiences of Vienna. And please, you can unmute yourself and share your screen.
Yes. Ooh. 1 second. Now it works. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Whoop. Perfect. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, today I will talk about a brief journey of Vienna towards carbon neutrality in the heating sector. I divided my presentation into 3 sections, basically. First, I will talk about the past, so what has been established and what's the background of this journey. Then I will talk about the present situation, what we're working on right now, which kind of strategic papers, etc. And finally, I will give you a closer look on the future, what lies ahead, and what the biggest challenges are here in Vienna. To start with, I just briefly want you to understand the heating sector in Vienna. Heating in the total accounts for half of the energy consumption. You can see that on the top right in this chart, where 50% of the final energy consumption is allocated to heating. If you take these 50%, you can see in the chart on the bottom right that most of the energy is supplied via natural gas, followed by district heating with 33% and electricity with 20%. Oil, for instance, is not much of a big deal in Vienna. due to our new coalition, new government in Vienna in 2020, there was the aim to have the decarbonization finished until 2040. So that's the goal. And from my perspective, there are three challenges in the heating sector. The biggest one is, of course, the natural gas that we want to reduce in the city. Then we need also to further decarbonize the district heating system. And we also do face some challenges in the electrification of the heating sector, which might also have implications on the power grid, etc. In order to decarbonize the heating sector, we introduced a couple of years back the instrument of energy zoning planning 1.0. This instrument allows us as a city to define areas. These are, in this map, you can see these orange areas where the use of fossil energy is no longer allowed for new buildings, specifically for heating and hot water preparation. This is a legally binding and regulated instrument that is manifested in the Viennese building code. So this would be one instrument on how we decarbonize. We could decarbonize the heating sector. What we are also doing is, and also Oksana said it, we're doing basic research on energy data and energy geodata within and outside of research projects, both. And we are in close cooperation with local working groups, together with network operators and energy suppliers. Exactly. So that's something from the past and what has been established so far. Now I'm going to take a closer look at the present. So I just highlighted here two main strategies and publications that we are working on right now in the municipal department. On the top right, you can see a chart, an illustration of the path towards climate neutrality until 2040 in the different sectors. This chart and a lot of other information originates from the climate roadmap. The climate roadmap has been published 1 month ago in the first draft version. It contains a shared vision and shows the way from basically theory to the implementation. And it's the main strategic paper that contains the aims and instruments, including also measures towards climate neutrality. Within the climate roadmap, there are two big sections. The first one is the climate protection section, and the second one, the climate adaptation section. And within the climate protection section, you would have specifically addressed, for instance, the building sector. And the second big concept and strategy that we're working on right now, which is maybe a little bit more detailed also in this context today, is the decarbonization concept in Vienna. It's also called Heating and Cooling 2040. This concept contains a lot about district heating because Vienna has a huge district heating network with, I think, more than 1,000 kilometers of district heating, and also different solutions on renewable forms of heating. Within this concept, at least during the development process, we've established different working groups. So for instance, there is a technical working group that deals with energy data, energy geodata. And within this working group, we're trying to build, for example, building typologies that will show the path towards decarbonization so that we know what kind of buildings are supplied right now with fossil energy and how we can decarbonize them. There we also need a financial working group because somebody has to fund that and pay for it in order to decarbonize it. And another working group would be the legal working group that deals with questions on how to get, how to deal with individual boilers in single rented flats, for instance. All right, so that's for the present two main major documents. And regarding the future, what lies ahead and what are the biggest challenges in Vienna, you can see on the left a nice old building in Vienna, a little bit on the outside of the city, which is an existing building and an old building. And the biggest challenge for our municipal department right now is to find a path to decarbonize the existing building stock. At the beginning, I showed you this instrument of energy zoning planning 1.0. I just called it 1.0 because it's only legally binding for new buildings. We now want, and we are currently in the process to develop an energy zoning planning 2.0, which should also contain existing buildings in order to decarbonize the building stock. It's just a way, an option, and rethink the energy zoning planning for the building stock, basically. How this could look like, as I said, it's a continuous discussion in Vienna, but on the bottom right in this graph, you can see an illustration from the research project Decarb City Pipes, where we work together with European cities, for instance, Munich, Dublin, Rotterdam, Winterthur, and we've developed. This is just an illustration to show where the path is going in Vienna. In these red bubbles, you can see the central district heating network, which is quite huge in Vienna. Currently, it is 33% for the heating sector, and we have a primary and a secondary district heating network, and the smaller red bubbles are like little satellites that are connected to the central primary district heating network. So there is the idea to further extend the central district heating network and at the same time decarbonize it in Vienna. The second part, which might be a little bit more also to the previous presentations, are these local smaller district heating networks. These are these green bubbles. Right now, these networks are more experimental in Vienna at the moment because we have this huge central district heating network, but we are thinking about smaller networks that are not directly connected to the central network, that are running on lower temperatures, and as already mentioned, similar to like this idea of the 4th and 5th generation district heating. And we also should not forget that we also need some decentral systems wherever heating networks are not possible. For instance, in the outskirts of towns, in single-family homes, where we would see a lot of heat pump applications as well, also in Vienna. And finally, the gas sector, or the gas, we will still have some remaining gas consumers in the future, because when you think about process heat, or peak demand issues, also for the district heating, we might require still some remaining gas, which should switch, of course, to green gas in the future. But yeah, but that's like this vision. What we are also doing is why we are also part in the Celsius project, that we follow other forerunners, especially or partly also by research projects. We do have a fast exchange with other German-speaking countries, but also across Europe and also within Austria. And probably it's not just me and some colleagues in Austria, but there are hundreds and thousands of planners in Europe that are maybe facing the same or similar problems with decarbonizing the building stock. And last but definitely not least, I just wanted to highlight an approach in Rotterdam, that the heat transition strategy, that is just simply split into 4 questions. Basically, if you take a look at the strategy, they ask the question why we're doing it, what, when, and how we are doing this decarbonization. And I think that's as simple as it is, quite a brilliant and simple approach, also towards communicating it to the citizens. So this should just show, I'm almost finished, that we are carefully following other forerunners. And yeah, I also want to reach out for other potential forerunners also in the Celsius community. If you have any ideas in order to decarbonize, don't hesitate to contact us. We are very grateful for interesting inputs from other cities. And also, as I've seen today, there are many interesting inputs. Thank you very much. I hope I was in time.
It was perfect. Thank you, Peter. Okay, that's great. So we have enough time for questions, and there are some questions coming in. And please continue sending them in the Q&A. And I will ask all our speakers, Marcus, Alan, to switch on your cameras, because now it's the Q&A time. So please let me know if you feel comfortable answering these questions. The first one is about heat planning process. So Peter explained it quite well in details about the tools that they are using. But could you please say a little bit more what happened in Sonderborg and in Lund regarding heat planning? Are there any resources available, and where this material can be found? Alan, do you have any information?
Yes, the heat planning is we have I would say a strong cooperation in the area about heat planning. As I mentioned, there are actually 3 heat companies in the area, and the municipalities have the overall heat plan, which is then part of our overall master plan that I just mentioned before. And I would say we have meetings on a quarterly basis where the main stakeholders are looking into the matter, and also the part that Peter mentioned. You know, the smaller heating areas, we call it local heating, is also part of our planning. So we have 3 elements. We have the district heating, traditional district heating planning. We have what we call local heating, and then we have the individual heat pumps in the areas where we don't have district heating at all, where it's not make sense. And all this is planned on an overall basis in the city. I think the most important thing is that the parties, the stakeholders, are working very closely together, because then you can start planning. As I mentioned, we need to connect more areas in order to be able to utilize the excess heat. And if you don't cooperate on this, then it won't happen, because you need in an area like ours, where we are only 75,000 people, and you saw the area where we have small towns, you have a bigger town, but we need to connect it in order to utilize the heat. So that is the most important thing, is the cooperation around it, and I think that we have a good model to, and we would definitely be happy to share it with other cities, how we use that in practice, so to speak.
Thank you, Alan. Marcus, do you have anything to add on the heat planning process in Lund?
Yes, since a couple of decades, the city cannot order any heat solutions to the citizens anymore. So we have to work through cooperation, and we have to work by like economics to make good offers to the citizens instead. So we work a lot with the energy company, and to provide good solutions for the citizens. And what should I say there? Well, that is the basic things. I would say that we cannot detail plan for anyone else. We're not allowed to anymore. We used to do that, but we can't do that anymore. So it has to be on market-based solutions. So we see different solutions in different places, but by promoting like this low temperature district heating solution, we can actually lower the costs, which makes it more attractive. So we have to like attract customers, so to say.
It's a commercial offer.
It's a commercial offer, yes.
Thank you. Well, unless Peter wants to add anything on the heat planning, we will move to the next question. And Lawrence is asking, what is the difference between district heating and a decentralized system in terms of energy savings, sufficiency, and efficiency? Who wants to take this one?
I can give a brief answer maybe for the situation in Vienna. I mean, there are many questions inside this one, but there is a continuous discussion because when we talk about this low temperature district heating, it's a huge challenge to establish that in the already existing building stock. So that's in the city of Vienna, where we have so many old historical buildings, it's quite a challenge. So the best thing is to couple like refurbishment and the change of the heating system together in order to lower the temperature, the heating demand, so that we can also extend the district heating further. But of course, if you talk about older buildings and temperature, etc., there is, in terms of efficiency, I think, quite a difference. So that's why we think that we need also both. We need the central district heating in Vienna, which cannot be substituted entirely by like this low temperature heating or something, but we also need to include this decentral solutions for new buildings and maybe of course also for renovated refurbished buildings.
Thank you.
Yes. I would like to add that if you are going to use waste heat or residual heat, it's good to have a large system, because it makes it more efficient to distribute it than having decentralized systems. And we have also learned that it's actually easier to change feed fuel in large systems than in decentralized systems. You get a bigger effect at least. So we have been able to get rid of a lot of carbon emissions in that way.
Yeah, you are in a good situation. You have large research facilities in your cities. But yes, this can also be applied to other situations. There are plenty of waste heat sources in and around cities indeed. And Alan, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, it was also about the distributed, or what we call local heating applications, and you could say I agree that it's more difficult there, because you can't utilize the excess heat as good as in the bigger ones, as Marcus mentioned. However, if you can get to the right size and balance it with a local heat source, excess heat, then you can definitely make the efficiency better, because you have some heat to base your, instead of having air based, which is not so efficient heating, then you can base it on some excess heat. That is definitely a way to improve this efficiency, but you need to get to the right size in order to make it happen, because as we all know, during summertime there's not so much heat requirements, so there you cannot utilize the excess heat as good. So that's the challenge in the smaller areas. It's also a challenge in the small areas in Sonderborg, for instance, that it's old buildings. There's a combination of new and old buildings. So getting to low temperatures, of course, as you also mentioned, Peter, a challenge. But I think we try to, and this is still in the early phase for us also, to get to these local areas as well.
Thank you, everyone. I have a next question about solar thermal energy. Does it play any role in the green transition projects in your cities?
I could start there. Yes, it does. To be honest, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it definitely is a significant part of our district heating today. I would say if we could turn back time, then we would not have chosen that because you can. It's more efficient if to utilize the excess heat. You know, it's a better business case, and it's exactly in the summertime that you have the solar thermal, you know, possibilities, so to speak. So there you actually have a challenge because you also need to utilize the excess heat during the summer. So I think going forward, solar thermal will not play a big role in new installations. That is my, you know, could say
personal opinion.
Yeah.
If I can answer that also from maybe
Of course.
the city of Vienna, a huge city like that, solar thermal is maybe it's interesting, of course, for maybe single solutions, but in the overall decarbonization of the heating sector, in terms of numbers, it's not really that important in Vienna. We are more focusing on extending the photovoltaic installations in Vienna. There we have very high aims to have around 800 megawatt peak in, I think, until 2030. I'm not sure about that, but it's more the focus on photovoltaic installations than on solar thermal, since we also have the central district heating system, etc. So, yeah.
There was another question sent in the chat, and I think it's also related to what we've been discussing about electricity and fossil-free electricity. So how do you look at the increased use of electricity by 2030? Do you consider it to be fossil-free in Northern Europe? Or do you buy fossil-free electricity and solve it in this way? Who would like to take the question on electricity?
I could certainly start. I don't know, Markus, are you just about to?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Continue.
Okay. We are planning, you know, the overall Danish planning on energy planning foresees green electricity by the end of this century. So that is what we based our plan on. But we are also very, you know, we are following this very closely because we all know that, you know, electricity is going to be, you know, we need massive electricity going forward. If you talk about the power to X that I mentioned also, which we need in the energy system in all, because we can't decarbonize all the systems, we need e-fuels. We need a lot of electricity for that. And also electrify all the processes in the industry in general. So we want to electrify as much as possible because that is most efficient, definitely. But we are very focused on, you know, we need to generate locally as much as renewable energy as possible. But we, I think you also know in the other areas, the not in my backyard discussion. So wind and solar is also a balance, you know, where you can make it. But it's going to be a big challenge, no doubt about that. But we expect green electricity by 2030.
Yes, it's definitely a challenge. For us, we are producing all the heat locally, but only about 30% of the electricity is produced locally. So we need to import electricity. And we also see that we will need more electricity in the future. Now we're a bit fortunate in Sweden that most electricity is already carbon-free, based on renewable and nuclear energy at the moment. We will need support from the national government here to get more renewable energy in our area, because we are promoting PVs, solar electricity, as much as we can, but that is what we can produce locally more of other forms are more difficult. So we need national government's aid here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your contributions on this. There are many questions. Many of them are related to heat planning and experiences of other regions and cities. That, by the way, we share these experiences in our Celsius Forerunner groups, which I will mention at the end of this webinar, so please bear with us. But there was one interesting question that I still would like to address. Have any of the speakers started working on seasonal heat storage? If so, how far have they come?
We have not, but our sister city in Denmark, in the LTDH project, they have built, I think it's 200-meter long storage tank that has dug into the ground, storing hot water. So you can see that if you join our conference in May.
Thanks for inviting, Marcus.
In Vienna, there are we are participating in research projects concerning heat storage, like geothermal heat storage, seasonal heat storage, and we have also these forerunners projects for individual, also for existing building stock. For instance, there's one old building block as a whole, where we applied low temperature heating and cooling together with seasonal heat storage. So this will be part of the future system as well. But these are only like pilot projects right now, currently in Vienna.
Mm-hmm. And I would like to take one last question and also address it to Peter. How do you realize a large share of geothermal in a densely populated city?
Yes.
Speaking of drilling, that requires a lot of space.
Yeah, we recently received a study from a geological study on that issue. In Vienna, we have two options. There is like this deep geothermal option to decarbonize the current district heating system in Vienna. So this will be a part of the decarbonization of the district heating. And apart from that, there is like these decentralized solutions with single drillings. And we are currently working on these maps on where it's allowed, where it's not allowed, where we do have space and where we don't have space. But it is an issue. It is an issue, but it will be part of our future solutions. And we even want to break it down to single plots to see how much potential is possible. Also, or mainly because of this lack of area in some points. So we are well aware of that. But we just need to, as a municipal department, to show where it's possible to have that solution open for developers and building owners. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Well, we still have some questions in the Q&A, and we will look at them after the webinar, and our speakers will see how to address them, maybe in our Celsius LinkedIn page. We can continue the discussions, but I would like to use the 2 remaining minutes actually to promote some activities of Celsius, which are very much related to what we have discussed today. And one of them is the Celsius stakeholder survey. We are conducting a survey of all interested stakeholders, city representatives, industry, policymakers. We would like to know your opinion on the levers and technologies for the heat transition in cities. And this survey will represent a very large variety of stakeholders and your opinions. Therefore, we very much like you to participate. I will send the link in the chat so that all participants of this webinar could contribute. And the results of this survey will be analyzed and presented at the upcoming policy workshop that we are organizing together with the project Reward Heat, but also in the framework of a large project-related event on the 17th of March in Brussels, physically. Since a very long time, we are doing a big physical event in Brussels. And as I said, the results of the survey will be presented and discussed with policymakers. And in general, what are the policies and innovative solutions that could bring us to the efficient district heating and energy systems. And last but not least, there were Celsius Forerunner groups mentioned a couple of times, and also in the questions, there were suggestions to join the Forerunner group. So I would like to explain maybe to those who don't know yet, what are the Celsius Forerunner groups. They gather city representatives, but also representatives of city-owned utilities, and also experts in order to help cities overcome their heating and cooling challenges. And we will soon launch the final round of the Celsius Forerunner groups, and we will have sessions on different topics in different fields. I invite you to have a look at this preliminary schedule. So we will start with the group Fossil Free, which focuses on decarbonizing district heating systems. And we will meet on the 9th of March for the first session, focusing on the integration of renewable energy sources. So we will talk about solar thermal, for instance, heat pumps, and their interconnection with the district heating networks. On the 30th of March, we will focus on challenges and risks related to geothermal district heating and cooling. On the 4th of May, we will talk about the future of gas CHP and in general gas consumption and gas prices in Europe, very topical question. And on the 1st of June, we will talk about environmental and carbon market challenges. There is also a dedicated group on cooling, and I saw there was a question on district cooling and whether excess heat can be utilized for district cooling in countries where heat demand is not so high. So we have a dedicated group on cooling, where we will look on the 16th of March at award-winning DHC systems, district cooling systems. On the 13th of April, we will focus on cool technological developments in the area. And on the 18th of May, we will talk about customer engagement for improving efficiency of district cooling. There is a dedicated group on low temperature district heating, and we will have sessions about original urban heat sources. So not only talking about research facilities, but also metro stations, hospitals, data centers, and tertiary buildings that can provide excess heat for district heating. On the 27th of April, we will talk about prioritization of these heat sources. We will also discuss seasonal thermal storage on the 25th of May, and we will tackle stakeholder engagement in order to lower the temperatures. But we also have a group on waste heat, which will have joint sessions with the previous group on low temperature district heating, because it's quite correlated topics. But there will be also a dedicated session on technological development for waste heat recuperation, a dedicated session on engaging waste heat owners. So I invite you to join this one if you're looking into these questions. And we will also organize financing sessions in May and in June. Dates still need to be confirmed, where we invite our foreign cities, but mainly finance colleagues, those who deal with the financing of the heat development, district heating development and implementation projects. And we will discuss green bonds. We will talk about finding the right funding, whether it should be public, private, or combined. And we will also organize a financing masterclass together with the Smart Cities Marketplace. So the question, how to join these wonderful groups? It's very easy. You can join, you can contact us at celsius@johannebergsciencepark.com, or you can also type your contact details in the chat, and we will reach out to you and invite you if you're a city representative, or if you can provide some expertise, we can also consider it to invite you as an expert to the foreigner groups. So with that, I think this is it. I would like to thank, first of all, our speakers for the very interesting presentations. This has been noted in many comments that this was very insightful. The recording will be published, and as I said, we will continue the discussion on our LinkedIn page. So thank you once again for your time, for bringing these interesting stories. And I wish everybody a very nice day and the rest of the week, and join Celsius in our future events and activities. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.